Earlier videos in this series talked about detecting the basic body language behaviors of comfort and discomfort, as well as the more common behaviors of the feet and torso. In this video, we'll get into the common body language behaviors of the hands and arms. I'll also throw in some tips later in this video on the best place to touch someone when building rapport, and what you can do when giving a handshake that shows strength and dominance without putting a bad taste in the other person's mouth. When it comes to body language of the arms, gravity-defying behaviors like we talked about in previous videos still apply. When someone's feeling good, they'll move their arms freely, and their arms will swing when they walk. As people get less comfortable, their arm movements get more restricted and they won't raise their arms as high. You see this all the time on the dance floor. When someone is relaxed and having a good time, they'll be willing to put their arms over their head when they dance. When someone's uncomfortable dancing, their arms will barely move and they will feel very uncomfortable putting their arms over their head. This is actually a really important thing to keep in mind when you're on the dance floor. If you're the kind of person that's uncomfortable dancing, when you get on the dance floor and you don't move your arms very much or raise them very high, you're making it clear to everyone that you're extremely uncomfortable. If the reason you got on that dance floor was to look attractive, you're definitely failing at that goal if you're demonstrating the behaviors of discomfort. So move your arms and act like somebody who's relaxed and having fun. Restricted arm movements can also be a tell that someone's up to no good. Remember, the lack of arm movement shows that somebody's uncomfortable. One of the reasons they may be uncomfortable is because they know they're doing something wrong and they don't want to get caught. For this reason, you'll frequently see people that are hiding something demonstrate an unnatural lack of arm movement. Think about it for a moment. After the shoplifter steals something and slides it into his jacket pocket, what does he do next? He holds his arm next to the item as if he's protecting it. Or when someone's trying to sneak something in their bag past security, how do they behave? Well, they grip their bag tighter or hold it closer to their body than they otherwise normally would. As you get into the habit of looking for these behaviors, you'll get better at detecting deception. In fact, one of the things I teach my clients is how to get away with anything, and at the core of that is always looking comfortable. If you want to sneak backstage or anywhere you shouldn't be, the most important part is looking like you belong there. You walk in with the exact same behavior you would if you'd been there 100 times before. When the security guard looks at you, you look right back at him with good, strong eye contact and you say hello. You can even use his name if it's written on his name badge. You talk to him like you've seen him countless times before. You want to put the idea in his head that you've met before and he's just forgotten who you are. This will put him on the defensive where he doesn't want to admit that he forgot you, so he's less likely to say anything to you, like asking you who you are or what you're doing backstage. The core of this skill is always looking comfortable, and that means you demonstrate the same arm movements that you would when you're in a relaxed state. The Social Skills Mastery online training program, linked in the description below, focuses heavily on various skills that will help you remain relaxed no matter what's happening around you, and this will help you keep your body language in check so people won't suspect you. As with other body language, you want to get a baseline for the arms. How much does the person move their arms normally, and what causes it to change? If the person's arm movement suddenly gets restrictive when you approach, that means you're making them uncomfortable. This doesn't have to be a problem. It's natural for people to be less comfortable when a stranger approaches, so you can use this as a way to see how well you're building rapport. As their arm movements get back to normal over the course of the conversation, you know they're getting more comfortable with you. You can also use this as a way to detect the warmth of a greeting. When you go to hug someone you like and are comfortable with, your arms come straight out. When you're hugging someone that you're less comfortable with, your upper arms remain at the side and the arms only move out at the elbows. You'll also see the A-shaped hug when people are uncomfortable, as people lean in, forming one half of the capital A, as they attempt to hug the person while still maximizing the distance apart. This makes going in for a hug an excellent way to determine how comfortable a person is with you. How wide they open their arms and how close they're willing to get during the hug gives you a really good idea of their level of comfort. Arms behind the back creates a sense of distance between people. It's often used by people of higher status, and it sends the message not to approach. Interestingly enough, even pets recognize this stance and are more wary of people that use it. If you want to be approachable and welcoming, you want to stay away from this stance. Hands on the hips is a dominance display that shows confidence and resistance to being pushed around. Normally the thumbs are not showing, but when you turn the hands around, it becomes an inquisitive display as you gather information. The spreading out of arms and fingers is often used when making demands of others. It's another dominance display as you go after what you want. Men will often put their arm around their date as a territorial display. You'll sometimes see them put their arm behind her back and actually pivot around her as he never takes his arm off, protecting his territory. One last thing about the arms before we move on to the hands. One of the best places you can touch someone when building rapport is on the arm between the shoulder and the elbow. This is a friendly action that helps build trust and connection. Pay close attention to their face and other body language as you touch them on the arm, as the act of touching them may cause them to show any emotions they were hiding. The human mind pays more attention to the movement of the hands than any other part of the body, which is why magicians use hand movements to distract us, and good speakers use hand and arm movements to keep us engaged. Having your hands visible makes you seem more trustworthy, so avoid hiding your hands whenever possible. Putting your hands in your pockets might make you feel more comfortable, but you feel more welcoming, engaging, and trustworthy when your hands are visible. While we're talking about hands, I'll add a little note about handshakes. I talk about how to give a proper handshake in the Social Skills Mastery online training program linked in the description below, so I won't go into that here, but I do want to talk about dominance displays when giving a handshake. All too often, people will grip too hard, turn their hand so that they're on top, or try to give a two-handed handshake as a way to establish dominance. All of these things can leave a bad impression and are not the best way to establish dominance. If you really want to give a handshake where you prove your dominance, the best ways to do this are either to step in and violate the personal space of the other person, or better still, just give piercing, unwavering eye contact during the handshake. As I've discussed before, most people can't hold eye contact for more than a few seconds. So if you can look in their eyes without looking away, you can show strength and dominance without leaving a negative impression. If you're finding these tips helpful, give the video a like and write a comment about where you might use this information in the future. Steepling of the hands is a display of high confidence and shows that the person really believes what they're saying. You can tell the person has lost their confidence when steepling turns into hand wringing, which is a display of low confidence. Thumb displays are also displays of high confidence, and the thumbs will quickly be hidden when something happens to lessen that confidence. Hiding your thumbs in your pockets is also a display of low confidence. In addition to hand wringing and hiding of the thumbs, other displays of low confidence include stroking of the hands and a complete lack of movement of the hands. Normally we gesture when we talk, so a complete lack of movement indicates low confidence. Likewise, dishonest people tend to move less than honest people, as though they're trying not to attract attention to themselves. So hands that don't move and people that rarely gesture are likely to be uncomfortable or hiding something. Pacifying behaviors often include self-touching because it feels soothing. So you'll sometimes see people stroking their hands or fingers or touching their neck when they're uncomfortable. Holding the wrist with the other hand is another example of a behavior that combines the pacifying behavior of self-touch with the blocking behavior of covering the body with the arms. Exposing the inside of the wrist is something we tend to do around people with whom we're comfortable. Women especially will expose the inside of their wrist around someone that they're interested in, and then will quickly turn it around, showing only the outside when he does something to lose her interest. Speaking of romantic interests, sometimes early on in a relationship, we might want to touch the other person, but we're not yet sure if it's appropriate, and so people will touch other objects instead. If you see someone gently stroking their arm or rubbing their finger around their glass, this can be a subconscious form of flirting and an indicator of romantic interest. Likewise, touch in relationships is often reciprocated. When one partner touches the other, that person usually touches back. When that behavior stops and the touch is no longer reciprocated, that's a bad sign and is frequently an indicator that the relationship's about to end. Another behavior of the hands you might see is massaging of a closed fist. Like most self-touch, this is also a pacifying behavior, but it's also a sign of trying to restrain oneself. In this case, the pacification is usually the person holding back from what he really wants to do, which might be yelling or even hitting something. The next video in our body language series is going to focus on the face and eyes, so stay tuned.